Hi, this is Susan Arango of Little Guy CGI, and today we're going to do some effects in the video editor. As you saw from the opening video, that's one of Ollie's demo reels that we're working on, and there's some wipes and fades and fade to black and things like that. So that's what we're going to go over today. So let's get started. This is the current version of Blender that we're using. It's 2.73, the released candidate. I don't think it matters if you have 2.72 or slightly earlier. This is just the one that I'm using now. Ollie downloaded it for me. So as always, when you come into Blender, go to, if you're new and your mouse isn't working correctly, go to File, User Preferences, and this screen will pop up. Go to Input, and here where it says select with right or left, by default Blender opens with right, so you have to select left and then save user settings, and after that it'll always be with the left, so your mouse will work more like you're used to coming from other programs. Okay, the first thing you want to do, if you saw the other video I did about the video editor, is just so you don't forget for later, you want to set up your video parameters over here so when you render it out, it renders out correctly and where you want it to go. If you're new to Blender, don't be overwhelmed by the user interface for Blender. It's got a lot of buttons and gadgets, and all of them are very, very cool. But for right now, we're just worried about the video. So over here in your panel, I pulled it out a little bit so that you can see exactly what it says. Under Image Editor, I like to change it to New Window. It seems to render better in that. If you leave it in the regular Blender window, sometimes it'll make Blender crash. Not often, but sometimes. So I always set this to New Window. Then you're going to come down here to Render Presets, and we're going to go HD TV 1080p. That's high resolution or high definition, whatever you want to call it. Your values here should be 1920 by 1080 at 100%. We're not going to worry about the frames right now because those will change as you edit your video in the video editor, and it will automatically change here whatever it says down here in your video editor. So we don't have to worry about that at the moment. Big thing that you don't want to forget is the frame rate. You want to change it to 29.97 frames per second. This is standard, and if you don't change this, your audio won't match up with your video if you do use audio. So just get into the habit of changing that to 29.9. You can ignore all of this stuff here. We're not going to do anything with that. You're going to come down here to Output. This is where you're going to choose where you want your file to go, and you just click on that, come over, Desktop. I'll come up here to Create New Directory, and we'll call this Tutorial. And today is the 29th, so we'll just call it that. Click on it and just hit Accept. And so when we render out our video, that's where it will go. You come down here, PNGs. Now here, if you leave it set as PNGs, what will happen is if you have a very short video, it'll render it out. Each frame will be a PNG. Sometimes this can be useful if you need to make changes onto a particular frame or series of frames, or if you are having difficulty with something rendering out correctly and Blender crashing. If you render it out as PNGs, you can pick up exactly where you left off with the very next frame. So say you had 1,000 frames to render, at frame 753 Blender crashed or it stopped, your electricity went out, whatever. You can go back to frame 754 and continue rendering from there, and it'll pick up right where it went off, right where you left off. You can't do that if you render it in anything except PNGs. So there is a time when you may want to render in PNGs, but for today we're going to render in the MPEG format. Then you want to click, close that, click here under Encoding, under Format. You want to go to MPEG 4, and you want to change the bit rate to 24,300, and you want to change the maximum to 30,000. Leave the minimum at 0. Now, if you have audio, which I guess I can show you how to put that in there, so we'll enable that. You want to pick MP3. So if you don't have audio, you can just leave that alone. You don't have to change it at all. But if you do have audio, you need to change it to MP3 so it renders out correctly. So once these settings are in, go up here and save. And as always with Blender, you want to save, save, save. So make sure that oops, it's the wrong one. Periodically you save your files. So we're going to put this in the same folder as our render, and we'll just call this setup. So that way if anything happens, we can come back and use this as our video setup. So everything's all ready to go. So we'll move that over. Now we're not going to interface with any of this stuff here, so you don't have to worry about what any of that stuff is. Go up here to default and select video editing. So now we are here in the video editor. Right now there's nothing in here, so it isn't too exciting to look at, but let's just take a look at what we have. This is your view screen up here. This is your timeline down here. This is your green timeline indicator. These are seconds, so this marks 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and so on. By default, Blender starts at 250 frames. So right here is 250, so this would be 10 frames per second. And then, 20, 30, 40, all the way up. In order to bring in a video strip or images, whichever you're working with, you go here to add. And then we're going to go for right now, I'm going to bring in movies. You would come here and you would find them on your desktop wherever they are in here. Just open one, find your clip that you want to bring in, and just hit add movie strip. You can also, if you have it set up on another screen, you can grab it, bring it in, and drop it, and it automatically will put it in. So you can drag and drop right from your desktop. So either way, either add or drag and drop from your desktop. It works the same way with movies and still pictures. So now that I've brought this clip in, this is our animation for the beginning of our videos that we do. Ali made this animated logo in Blender in 3D, and that's just some of the cool things that you can do with Blender to make your stuff look really neat. So I want this at the beginning of our video. The reason it looks like it's playing a little slow is the playback is a little slower in Blender, and also by using Cam Studio, it's using the power of my computer, so it renders back a little slightly choppy, but it's okay for our purposes right now. And if you come up here to the view window, if you roll forward and backward, it'll change the size that fits up the screen here. So what I want to do is I want this to fade in from black. So in order to do that, we're going to go to Add, Effect Strip, and we're going to do a color. It automatically puts it at wherever your green timeline indicator is. So if I play this now, all we're going to see is black, and then that will come in like that. So we want this to fade in from black to our video. So what you do, and this is very, very important, the order that you select the color and the video and then add in the transition is the order that it's going to happen. So let's say we pick the video first, then the color, and then the transition where it fades in. Your video would show first, it would fade to black, and then your video would pop back in. So whatever you choose first is what the transition is going to use first. So we're going to click our color. We're going to hold shift, click our video clip. Then we're going to hit add, effect strip, and we're going to use gamma cross. And that'll put it right up here. It'll make it as long as your color bar. And now if you come down here to play and watch your monitor screen up here, you'll see that it fades in from black as it goes to the end of the gamma cross, and then it just continues on. Now, let's say for whatever reason you wanted this longer, this fade in. You simply click on the color, grab this arrow, pull it out as long as you want it to be, click left click to lock it in, and now it'll take even longer to fade in. So that's how you can control your fade ins. You can make them as long or as short as you want them to be. Just always remember, once you start moving something, to left click to lock it in. So if we right click to bring our green timeline indicator back to the beginning and hit play, you can see now it fades in fairly fast. So that's how you add a fade at the beginning of a video clip. It just gives it a little bit of polish, makes it look a little more professional, a little more interesting, instead of things just popping in and out. So now we'll allow this to play on. I really can't shorten this clip. I could put a speed ramp on it to make the animation faster, but I'll do that in another video. It's a little more involved. So once this sets here, I don't need the rest of this because, like I said, this is going to be his demo reel, and at the beginning that's enough to show off his little animation there. So what you do is you click your video clip, hold Shift K, make a cut, and then you click the part that you want to get rid of, hit X, erase the strip, and now this will end there. If you hold your right mouse button, you can, this is called scrubbing the timeline, so you can go over it like this if you needed to find an exact spot. When we did highlights tapes for our son's football, when he was making a highlights tape for college, we spent hours doing this, going back and forth like this to find the exact place to cut it in order to get the place that he wanted in his highlights reel. So it can be very useful. Also, when you have audio in here and you need to make a cut in when someone's speaking, you can use this to find the exact spot where their lips start to form or end a word, and that's where you want to cut it. So hold your right mouse button and scrub the timeline like that. Alright, so now we're going to bring in another piece of video to add to our demo reel that we're creating, and let's bring in his dinosaur. Again, it always snaps to the green timeline indicator. The way you manipulate this grid here, if you roll your mouse wheel out away from you, it does that. If you roll it in towards you, it makes it smaller. If you press your middle mouse wheel down and move it left or right, up or down, it does that. Once you get used to bringing these in and going back and forth, some of your clips can get really, really long. This is very useful. Another thing that I found, and I honestly don't remember the gentleman that was doing the tutorial that I was watching that I found this, but it's extremely useful, is I think it's Shift B is box select, and when you go like this, it automatically zooms into whatever it is you're working on. And right now here it doesn't look too impressive, but when you have several video clips overlapping each other with several transitions going on and audio in there, and you need to get that one little piece where somebody's mouth is moving when it shouldn't be or something, this can be very useful because it highlights exactly what you box select. So it's Shift B will box select and highlight exactly what you want selected. If you just hit B, you can box select like normal, which will just select whatever it is that was inside of that box. But if you hold Shift B, it will zoom in on it. You then have to hit the home button in order for it to go back to regular. So that's just a little interesting thing. Now, as you can see here, this video clip came in over top of this. So if I right click and hold down, you can see that it changes to the dinosaur video, which is over my logo animation video. So if you're working again with a lot of video clips, an easy way to manipulate these so you can go back and forth and see is click on the video clip that's over top, hit H, and that will hide it. As you can see, it's still there. You can still see what it is. It's just hiding it from being able to view it in the viewer. So now we can see our logo animation the way we want it to. If we want to bring this back, just hit Alt H and it comes right back the way that we want it. Now what I want to do is here I want to have this transition from the logo animation to the dinosaur animation. So there's two ways to move this. You can either click it and hit G and just move it down some, or you can, that's probably the easiest way to do it. So we're going to stick with click and hit G. Don't mess with these on the ends, because if you change the length of the video, it's going to mess up the animation. If it's something that's still like here, once that logo settles and it's still and there's no movement here, if I wanted to bring this in to make it a little shorter, it wouldn't matter because there's no movement there. But if there was movement there, and I'll show you what it does if I bring it in like this, well, that didn't really, certain animations it messes up the timing of it, and especially if you go past, like here is past where the animation actually ends. Like I said, with this, it isn't moving, so you can't really tell the difference. But with like the dinosaur running, if he's running all the way to the end here, if I take this and pull it out to where there's no video left, what'll happen is that. So you don't want to mess with these arrows on the end if you don't have to. It just kind of messes up the animation, some worse than others depending upon what your video clip is of. So anyway, we're going to make a transition here between this and this. Now there's several that you can choose from. If you go to Add, Effect Strip, and Wipe, it will give you, this is the wipe right here. It isn't where I want it to be. It came in from the beginning and that's not what I want, but I just wanted to show you the controls over here. So with wipe, you have several different options that you can pick. If you scroll down here to Effect Strip, and it says transition type, there's a single, a double, an iris, and a clock. And then there's other options with each one of these. So if we have single, let me get rid of this one. What you need to do is click, hold J. They need to overlap in order for the transition to work. And again, you have to remember to pick the one you want to react first and then the one you want to react second. So in this case, we're going to click the logo animation first, hold Shift, click this strip second. Then we're going to Add, Effect Strip, Wipe, and that's going to come in exactly where they overlap. As you can see that it's exactly the size of where they overlap. So right now, that's what a single fade transition looks like. It's just one wipe down. Okay, now what you can do, if you come over here, is there's an out, so this is coming from out here, in. If you change it to in, it's going to come from in here, out. So depending upon if you want it to come from the top or the bottom, will depend upon how you set that. Then there's the blur width. As you can see, this is a very razor sharp line right here. You may want that. If not, just increase the blur width. That's all the way up. Right click, scrub your timeline. As you can see, it's a softer transition. So you can either blur it or you can have it the sharp edge. The other cool thing is the angle. If you click and drag, as you can see up here, I'm changing the angle that the that the blur is coming in at. So let's say you want it on the side like that. So now it's going to come across the side. And again, you had all these options, and this is just with single. So you have quite a few options you can choose from there. Then we're going to go to double. All right, with this one, what it does, let's put it back at the beginning so you can see exactly what it does. Put this back to 0. Okay, so if it's double, it starts in the in and goes out. So that's set on out. So it starts on the inside and transitions out. So if we switch it, it's going to start on the outside and transition in. So it's the same as single, it's just double. The blur width, same thing. You can either keep it razor sharp or varying degrees of blur, depending upon what you want. And then the angle also works the same with this. So let's say you wanted it like that. And you can adjust them however you want. Okay, so let's go back to 0 with this again. And now we'll look at the iris. Okay, the iris is pretty cool. We'll take the blur width back to 0. That starts in the, again, out. So it's starting in the center and going out as a circle. And if you do in, it's going to start from out and come in. And again, blur width. Now this one doesn't have a rotation. So this one, those are your options for that. In or out, which, I mean, that looks kind of cool. If you start from this and then it fades down in, and that's the last thing you see, and then Mr. Dinosaur comes in. So that one's kind of cool for that. And you can just play around with them until you find the one that fits your purposes. The last one is the clock. And this one's kind of cool too. So you can see it wipes around. If we change this, it wipes around counterclockwise. The blur width again, up or down, hard or soft. And there's no rotation on this one either, so it'll always go that way. So that's how you put a transition where you want to transition from one scene to another, one frame to another. The thing you have to keep in mind is they need to overlap, and they can overlap as much or as little as you need them to. Let's say we wanted to come back here where this just settles, and then we want to move this over. The wipe will extend with it. So now it'll just take longer for the wipe to come around. But you always need to have these two overlapping in order for this to work, because one needs to interact with the other. As it uncovers one or covers up one, the other one starts to show. So you want to just make sure that you always have these overlapping. You can also do it with as little as one frame. So right here we have one frame. You see how small the wipe is, and see how fast that went? But you always have to have at least one frame overlapping. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is how to do what they call a lower third. When you've seen interviews on the news or documentaries, sometimes there's a bar down here, sometimes it's fancy with motion graphics on it, sometimes it's just a colored bar that has the person's name or the scene or the birthday or the team that's playing or whatever, just to identify what's going on in the scene or the picture. So I'll show you how to do that really quick. You click on your video strip here, add, effect strip, color. By default it comes in as black. If you go to the color bar here and just slide this up it'll give you all your color options. You can pick to make it whatever color that you want. For right now, I'm just going to leave it for black because it shows up the best. The other thing you want to do is go back to Add, Effect Strip, Transform. And what that does is it puts a transform on the color strip, which is going to allow us to make it into the lower third. So right now, as you can see, we can't see anything. It's black. So up here, we're going to make this alpha over, and we're going to lower the opacity down about halfway. Oops. Then we're going to click on the color strip, which changes the controls over here to the color strip. We're also going to make this alpha over, but this opacity we're going to lower all the way. So right now, all we're seeing is the transform opacity. As you can see, it's a little dim here because the black is showing up. So we're going to go back to the transform layer. We're going to scroll down here to position. X moves it side to side. So let's say you wanted, for whatever reason, the lower third on this side. You would drag it all the way over this way and leave it there, and you could write whatever you wanted to write in here, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I want it at the bottom, so we're going to take Y, and Y will bring it down. Now if you wanted it at the top, obviously you would drag it the opposite way to the top. So we want it about that big, and now you have a nice lower third here that you can put text on. Now in order to do text, you would have to get that from a program like GIMP. We discussed GIMP earlier in some of the other tutorials that I did. If you're not familiar with GIMP, it works exactly like Photoshop for the most part. There's a few little minor details that are different, but for the most part it works just like Photoshop. And you would have to go into one of those programs and create a text layer on a transparency and export it out as a PNG. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is GIMP. When you come into GIMP, you can download this for free off the internet if you're not familiar. I can put in the description or annotation on how to go about downloading it, but you download it off the internet. You come up here to File, New, just create a new project. You come into the project, you're going to have a default white background layer. Just come down here to this button, Create New, and when that panel comes up, just click Transparency and hit OK. And that will create a new transparent layer. Oh well, I'll just get rid of that. So then you're going to click your text, and you're going to come over here and type in the text that you want it to be. We'll left click, highlight the text. If you come over here and click here, you can choose which text you want to use for your lower third. Something fairly bold usually works the best, and then you can just increase your size like that. So now we have text on a transparent background that says dinosaur. So you come up here, export as. We're just going to send it to the desktop so we can retrieve it quickly. We'll get rid of GIMP. Now here's where we're going to bring in a still picture. So we'll take Add, Effect Strip, or I'm sorry, Add Image, and then we'll come here to Desktop, down to Untitled. If you want to see what this is, you come up here to these four images up here. If you click it, it'll show you exactly what it is. So we know that that's the right one. We're going to add the image strip. We're going to grab it, and we're going to bring it up here. And then we're going to make this alpha over. Now, as you can see, it's up here in the center. and that's not where we want it. So what do we have to do? Same thing we did to the color bar. We need to add the transform, but only to this effect strip. So if you hit A, it'll deselect everything. If you hit A again, it'll select everything. So right now I want to deselect everything, and then I'm going to click on this strip here so I make sure that that's the only strip clicked. Add, effect strip, transform, and now this is going to affect only that strip. We have to change it also to alpha over so that we can see it, and now we can come down here and we can change the position again. If you want it over to the side, you would do X either way you wanted it. We want it to go down, so we're going to drag it down like this, and then maybe slightly over to the right like that. And that's just a very quick way to add a lower third. Again, you can add it on the side if you want. It all depends on what you do with your position over here, your X and your Y position. The biggest thing to remember though is making it the alpha over, and with the color and the transform you need to address the opacities, because if you didn't address the opacities then this would be solid black, which if you want it that way you can leave it that way, but I think it looks a little more interesting if it's just has some slight color to it. It draws your eye down and forces you to read what's in it. Now the last thing that I'll show you as far as these effect strips go is I'll show you how to do the fade out at the end. So let's say as our dinosaur walks off into the background here, we want this to fade to black. So we're going to click on the strip. We're going to add our color strip, which is black. Then, as you remember, you have to click what you want affected first and then a second. Now over here we click the black. In the beginning here we click the black and then the video because we wanted the black to show first before we put the gamma cross on. Over here we're going to click the video first, hold shift, click black, then we're going to add the gamma cross. And what that will do is fade it out. You don't have to, but if you click on here, shift K, and then click here and X, you can make it nice and neat. I like things to be nice and neat. So as you can see, we went right to frame 251. So we'll change this end to 251. And if you're happy with what you see, we have our fade in. We have our logo animation playing. And again, it might be a little choppy in here simply because of your computer speed. Then we're going to come to the transition, then our lower third. Remember to address the opacities on those if you want it to have a slight opaque look to it. And then we have our fade out. Now if your video strip was longer than this, you would come down here. This box here tells you exactly how long your video strip is when you put your timeline indicator wherever you put it. If your video strip ended out here somewhere, it would tell you it's ending at 363. You would just type end in here, whatever that end was. Ours is 251, so I type 251 in here. Then when you go back to, after you're all finished here and everything's done and you're ready to render out your video, you go back to your default screen, and if you look over here, just check to make sure. It should say end frame 251. Whatever your end frame was, if it was 10,375, that's what it would say here, as long as you typed it in down here back in the video editor. So we're all set up here and ready to go. You can give your parameters one more quick look. New window, HD TV 1080p, which renders to 1920 by 1080 at 100%. We have our frames, 29.97 frames per second. Our output is set to where we want it to go. It's set to MPEG. The format is MPEG-4. The bit rate is 24,300. This rate, minimum 0, maximum 30,000. And our audio is set to MP3. Now, I did not put audio in here. I can go and show you how to do that really quick. If you go back to the video editor, okay, go to YouTube, and on YouTube, I believe you have to have an account to do this. I'm not 100% sure, but I know how to do it from my account. So this is my YouTube channel right here. If you go up to your picture, you'll see a thing that says Creator Studio. Click on that, and this is to get royalty-free audio. If you have audio from your party, from your kids, or whatever, you know, that audio will automatically come in with the video clip that you bring in. Our video is created, so we have to add audio to it. So you then come to the Creator Studio, you come down here to where it says Create, and you'll see a thing here that says Audio Library. They have thousands of music to choose from, and you can listen to each one. And I'm just going to pick one for now. You come over here to where it says Download. Which one did I just have? This one. We'll come over here to Download. It'll download it onto your computer. As soon as it finishes downloading, I'm going to move this out of the way. You go and you find it in your files. And you just drag and drop. Now it's going to put it back here because, like I said, it always goes at the beginning of the timeline. So we're going to right click back to the beginning, and then we'll take this, hit G, and we'll put it, oops, where did it go? We'll put it up at the top here. Come on now. Put it up at the top. So now when we play, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not. Okay, you weren't able to hear that, so now you should be able to. And again, that's just a very simple way to get audio into your video if you have a video that doesn't have any audio in and of itself. Now, if you have audio of soccer game, happy birthday party, whatever, it'll come in with its own audio strip. I'll do another tutorial on how to manipulate the audio strips because I could have this fade in as opposed to it coming in really loud. I could have it, let's say you did a birthday party and you wanted their favorite song in the background, but there were a few parts of the party where you wanted to hear what the people were saying at the time. So I'll show you how to cut and edit the audio clip as well. But for right now, this is just a really quick way to bring some audio in so your video has a little bit of pizzazz to it. So I hope you found this information interesting and helpful. And it's just really quick, easy ways to make your home videos or even your videos for your business look more professional and have that slight edge to them over regular home videos. And if you like this and you want to see more, like, click, and subscribe at the bottom. And leave me comments of things that you want to see how they're done. Sometimes, you know, we forget that we had to learn all this stuff from the ground up and take for granted that, oh, I know how to do that. But, you know, if there's something that you need to know that I haven't covered, just leave me a comment, and I try to check them every day, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.